Hi, and welcome back to the 40-day challenge. It's day 8, I believe, of embracing the race. You may be wondering why I am dressed a little more formal. I actually have a funeral I'm going to here in the next little while. But this particular person, it was an acquaintance. I had a few interactions with this particular person, but I do know that she was a believer. So my heart goes out to her family. I know that she is in God's glory and is just dancing up there with him. So, but we'll go ahead and get into day 8, which is called Water Stops. Don't we all love water stops? She starts with the verse, Psalm 42, verse 1. As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul thirsts for you, my God. That's a great verse for what she talks about. She starts off this devotion talking about how as runners, if we're able to acquire a map of the course, like I know with Run Disney, they're very good about this on their race maps. They put where the water stops are, so you can plan and know, okay, at this mile I'll be able to get some water. At this mile I'll be able to get some water. If you're running with a group, you plan if you can go back by your car and get a drink if you don't carry it with you, or that's a plan too, to carry the water with you if you know you're not going to be able to have those places where you can actually stop and grab some. And so as runners, her point is that we plan for stuff like that, so that we can get through a workout or get through a race. So we're very intentional about it. So she goes on to say, do we intentionally plan spiritual water stops, places of rest for quenching the thirst of our weary souls? Refreshment is vital for the long road ahead. And I completely agree with this. She talks about different ways or different things that could act as a water stop in our faith journey. She talks about attending worship services on the weekends, Sunday morning, Sunday evening. Or sometimes some churches will have Wednesday evening services during the week, which sometimes can be great if you're having a tough week, just to be able to go and separate yourself from any chaos and just go and worship. Also, weekly small groups, prayer time with close friends, or even just doing a one-on-one coffee time with a girlfriend, guy friend type deal. Carving time to get away from chaos and stress. I know that at least at our church, and I think most churches do this for their pastors, is they carve out time where they can get away. At our church, all of our pastors get a quarterly Sunday where they're encouraged to go to another church or go visit family and attend church with them and step away from ours. And that's a time of refreshment for them because their job really is 24/7. Being there for their congregation and being there for us. So I know that it's important for them to have that time. And she calls them, these are like pit stops for the journey of faith. I've never met a runner who wasn't intentional with their water supply. Just as the water stops on a race course are strategically positioned, we too as Christ followers must be intentional when it comes to discipleship and staying strong in our faith. We get weary. Life sometimes feels like a drought. We must be purposeful in planning out where we will stop to be renewed, refreshed, and refueled. All right, questions. Can you identify specific water stops in your faith journey? It's appropriate that I'm doing this today. Today is Wednesday. I do these a day ahead, so you'll see this on a Thursday, but Wednesdays is usually in non-COVID times when we have choir practice. And those were definitely one of the things that were my water stop. If I was having a rough week, I so looked forward to going to choir practice and just singing, because our choir practices would always end up being sometimes like a small little Bible study. Our choir director, he's very knowledgeable, and we always end up talking about some sort of lesson, something that even because he's a teacher, he deals with all kinds of stuff, and he'll share what he's going through and what he's learning when it comes to faith and all of that. So we get worship and we get a little Christian time together with our choir. Now, We are having socially distanced practices to practice for Easter, because we'll be recording some video for songs that will be shown on Easter Sunday. So I'm very excited because we haven't done this since Christmas. So even though I'll have to be distanced from my other choir members, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody tonight. Also, pre-COVID times, I was part of a little women's small group that we would meet. I think we were meeting once a month before everything happened, and there was a group of ladies right around my age, and it was such a wonderful time. We would just talk, and sometimes the girl that was hosting it would have a particular topic that we would end up talking about, but a lot of times we just talked about life and we're just being there for each other. But those are things that I like to do. We did used to have Sunday evening services. We're not having them right now because of COVID. As soon as COVID's over, a lot of my water stops will come back. But that's, it is so important. Are you stopping often enough, or do you need to add some more stops to your course? It's hard right now. You know, I will say that when COVID did happen, our women's small group that I mentioned, that we did Zoom calls with each other when we could. I mean, even though it's hard for people to gather right now, with all this technology that we have, it's possible. But it's that word intentional. You got to be intentional about it. Reach out to people and be like, hey. It's so easy to put Zoom on your phone and just get that face-to-face and to have that accountability and to be there for each other, because everybody's got something that they're dealing with right now. But I've been able to stay connected with several friends. How does having water stops affect the level of peace and hope you have when things get tough? I tell you what. When I was talking about the choir practices, back when we were having normal choir practices every Wednesday, there were some weeks where it was just either a stressful week or a busy week. That was my time and I would go to choir, and I wasn't even trying to do this really, but when I'm there, I was able to just turn my brain off from anything else that I was worrying about or thinking about, and there was that peace that just happened. Just getting to sing those songs and, you know, really think about, I always really try to think about what the message of the song is when I'm singing it. And it really does that, you know, it gives you that peace and hope and gives you a refreshing. So by the time choir practice is over, I feel 1,000 times more better. And there were Wednesdays where I didn't feel like going, you know, if, like, let's say it was like storming and I didn't want to drive in the storm to the church. Like, I really don't want to go. I never regretted going, not once. And with all of those things, not just like for me it's choir practice, but a worship service, a small group, prayer time, or meeting someone for coffee. It might take a little bit of time out of your schedule, but if you're using that time to encourage each other, I really don't see how that would ever be a bad thing. You will always come out of it feeling a little bit better. If you don't have any water stops, pray and ask God to show you. Okay, let me start over. If you don't have any water stops, pray and ask God to show you who, where, and when they might be. And the verse she ends with is Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 and 29. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. So one thing that she kind of touched on here that I think is so important is to make sure you have those people in your life that you can go to for encouragement. Even if it's just one person, or if you're lucky to have a group of people, like I have a group of ladies, and several people in choir, and my running buddy, she's a great encouragement and is a believer. We go on runs and we'll talk about all kinds of different things when it comes to our faith and what's going on in the world. But so hard to do things, you know, to go through life without having those friends. So I encourage you, if you don't feel like you have somebody that that you reach out to, that you can just dump on sometimes if you're having a bad day, try to find a person that will encourage you and lift you up. And sometimes it's not somebody that will always give you great advice. Just find somebody that will listen. You know, sometimes you just don't need a whole bunch of advice coming at you. You just need somebody that will just sit and listen and sympathize and, you know, give you that peace. And ultimate peace comes from God, of course. It's just why my closest friends are the ones that I know share my belief. So that's day 8. This book is so good. I've really been enjoying it, and I hope that it's offering you some insight and encouragement as well. So I will see you tomorrow.